Today we are back and we are talking about Zoom. So I'm sure many of you or most of you know about Zoom. Zoom is video chatting software that many people are using. Just to get started, first thing you need to know is you need the Zoom app on your MacBook, okay? And the simplest way to do it, honestly, is to just Google the phrase download Zoom or go to the Zoom website. Regardless, it will take you here to the Zoom download center and you can just hit download. You can install it. It will go to your programs, or to your apps rather. And when you go to your apps, eventually you will see Zoom right here. It's this blue icon. It looks like a little video camera. And then you'll be ready, okay? So make sure before you get started to download Zoom. Now, once you open Zoom, you'll be greeted to a screen like this. And it gives you a few options, okay? The first one is new meeting. That is if you want to start a new meeting right now in this moment, okay? This is join. So if you have the code for a meeting, you can hit join and input that code. But most of the time, it seems like you get the link. Like, for example, when we have meetings, we have the link to the meeting sent to us. So usually you don't even need this icon, but you may. Schedule, which is for you to schedule a meeting ahead of time. So maybe you want to have a meeting with your students or your staff a day or two from now. You can schedule the exact time for it to become available, okay? And then, of course, share a screen, which we'll talk about. So first thing I want to show you just real quick is new meeting. So if you click new meeting, well, there I am. And it says join with computer audio. So you are going to want to hit yes, join with computer audio. And I am not looking too good right now because I have a San Francisco background that I set up. And you can look into how to putting a background if you want. But in any case, I'm here and I'm on screen and I can do a lot of things from this point, right? So for one, on the bottom left right here, it says join audio. So if you want to add your audio and you haven't already done that, you are going to click there. If at any point you don't want your face on screen and you want to stop the video, right here you have this icon that says stop video. And if I click on it, I'm gone. Nobody else can see me. And of course, if I click it again, I'm back. Right here, you have an icon that says invite. So you're going to use that if you want to invite people to this chat, right? I'm the only person in this room right now in this Zoom video chat. But if I click it, suddenly I can put in different names or email addresses and I can send it to them, okay? I would probably not even send it to individual emails. Instead, what I would do is it says copy URL right here at the bottom left. So I would invite by copying the URL and then pasting it into an email and saying, hey, this is the URL to my Zoom chat. Come at such and such time. Okay? And then you also have share screen, which gives you the option to allow people to see whatever is on your screen. So if you click it, it allows you to show people whatever is on your desktop, or it can also provide you with a whiteboard that allows you to write whatever you want. I would recommend only using it to show the desktop, most likely. For example, if you want to show students a PowerPoint presentation that you have prepared, you can hit share screen, show them your desktop, and then you can show them the slides, right? And then you have another very important icon right here, chat. So this is important for one very specific reason, and that is that you can have students or your coworkers write questions in here. And you may have seen in our staff meetings that sometimes teachers type their questions here for the principal to answer. So everybody can type here and say, hello, Mr. Catan. I have a question about number 3 on the study guide. And students can type that. So even if they're not on screen, even if their voice is not available, they can type in that chat and you can respond in real time. I think that's really valuable, but just make sure that the chat is open. Otherwise, you're not going to see it. And then if you want to close it, you can hit this little icon here, hit close, and it's gone. Okay. What else can we do on here? Well, we can record the screen if we want. And we can also post reactions, which is just kind of a silly thing. You can add a plus sign or a clapping icon. You're probably not going to use that very much, okay? So if you've used any other video client, I don't think that Zoom is that different. And all you really need to know is at the bottom row right here, okay? Another thing that I want to point out, though, is that inevitably, students will enter your room. Right now, I don't have anybody else in the room but me. So if you look at this icon here, it says Manage Participants, and it says 1, because right now there's only one person in the room, and that's me. However, if I had 30 students in the room or 30 staff members, it would say 30. And I would click on it, and I would be able to see a long list of all the people who were in this room. Now, I'm not seeing that now, obviously. So if at any point you want to mute all of them, you have that option here. It says mute all. You also have unmute all. And then here, there are some other more advanced options that you could do if you wanted, okay? What I will also say is that when people are trying to enter your room, or students are trying to enter your room, you'll see this Manage Participants icon start to blink. And what it's trying to say is that, hey, someone is trying to enter your room, and you need to deal with it. So you'll hit it, and most likely, it will have a student here, a name, and it will give you the option to admit them or to accept them, okay? And in order for them to enter the room, you will need to actively accept them if you've done this correctly. Now, here is really the only piece of kind of safety or security that I would want to teach you about. Be very careful about who you admit into the room. I would make sure that my students use their name actively in this Zoom call. And if you see a name that you don't recognize, or if you see a name that doesn't match a student name, that isn't using a real name, is just like Bulldogs21, probably don't admit that person, because that person might say something profane, or they just might not be a real person, right? So I would not admit them. And that is how you will admit students, okay? Lastly, of course, if you want to end the meeting, it gives you that option right down here, End Meeting. And when you click it, it says End Meeting for All. And you are going to want to end meeting for all, because if you just leave the meeting, that means all the students are going to be left in there just kind of messing around maybe. So if you hit End Meeting for All, everybody is done. So that's pretty much Zoom. If you've used any other video client, it's probably not that mind-blowing to you. It's not that dissimilar from Google Hangouts Meet, which I also did a video on. But the one thing I want to show you is scheduling, because I think that this is what you are most likely to do. You're most likely to say, hey, all of my students, we're going to have a Zoom chat at, I don't know, 1 o'clock on Monday, between 1 and 2. So let's say we want to do that. We want to set up that meeting in advance because we need to provide them with a link. We're going to click on Schedule, and suddenly we have a lot of options, right? They're all very important. So the first one, it says Tarkaton Zoom meeting. Well, I want to change the name. So this is going to be like Honors Chemistry review session, something like that. And then, of course, you're going to pick the date of that meeting and the time that you want it to be at. So I said earlier I wanted it to be at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. So let's just say that that is my time period, right? And of course, it's Central Time. You can make it a recurring meeting, but you probably won't need to do that unless you're really that consistent with it. Meeting ID, you're going to want to generate it automatically, and you are going to want it to have a password. Now, the good news is that students are not going to have to actively type in the password if you give them the link. So you are going to want a password, though, for security, okay? Then it talks about video. So if you want yourself to be on video, which I bet most of you will, you are going to want to have the host video on. You, of course, are the host. The participants, I would leave their video off because we really don't want students too much on video. However, if you wanted the students or staff members to have their videos on, you can click on or off. It's your prerogative. Then it starts talking about the audio that you want to be used. Now, you don't want telephone audio, you want computer audio. So it defaults to telephone and computer audio. I usually just hit computer audio because that's what's going to happen. And then if you leave it as a Google Calendar, what will happen is when students accept your invitation, it will save to their calendar, and it will also save to your calendar. So you'll get your usual MacBook or iPad notification that, hey, you have a meeting coming up in an hour or something like that, which is nice. So I would leave that on, let it go to your calendar. And then if you hit advanced options, notice it's not automatically open. You have to actively click the arrow so it opens, okay? There's some important stuff in here, and you don't really have to do most of it. It's automatic. So for example, it says enable waiting room. You want that checked, okay? And what that does, it's a security feature. It puts students in a waiting room until you admit them. So a few minutes ago, I mentioned that you have to actively admit each student as they come into the waiting room. And that's a good thing. So you want to enable the waiting room. Enable join before host. I would say you want that off. You want to be in the room before anybody else. So you don't want anyone to join before the host does. Mute participants on entry. The question is, do you want students to be muted when they come in? I would say you probably would want them muted, and then you can actively unmute them when you want them to talk. But again, your prerogative, you can have them come in talking and unmuted, your call. And then the final part says automatically record meeting on the local computer. You probably do not want to record this meeting, but if you do, that's an option, okay? And then you would hit schedule. Pretty straightforward, of course. Now, when you do that, it's going to ask you to log into your Zoom account if you haven't already. I haven't. But when you make your Zoom account, make sure that you use your district 218.org account, your chsd218.org account, because notice I have my personal Gmail, and that is an option, but I made sure that my Zoom account was my district account. So I'm going to click that. And I'm going to allow Zoom to access my calendar, which is okay. And you will notice now that it adds a calendar, or you will notice that it adds an event to my calendar. So it says, here's the Zoom link, which is very important, because that's what you're going to want to give to your students. It adds a notification 10 minutes before this happens. So if you want a notification an hour before this happens, you have to specify that. But I have it notifying me 10 minutes before the meeting occurs. Of course, my name. And the last thing that it does is it provides this nice message down here. Tariq Katan is inviting you to a scheduled Zoom meeting. This is the link. This is the password. If I have ever invited you to a Zoom meeting, this is what I send you. So what you can do is you can copy this. So highlight it, copy it, and then when you send this to your students, you can just paste this message to them, and it's already pre-done for you. So if you have a Google Classroom, for example, you can put that in your Google Classroom. If you have a Remind, you can copy and paste this message to your Remind or this link, and the work is done for you. And last but not least, up top, this blue icon says save. You're going to want to save it to your calendar, and notice it goes right into your calendar, and you're all set. Okay? At that point, you just need to make sure that just like the students, you click that link to enter at your meeting time. So if you set your meeting to be at, 1 o'clock, you need to make sure that come 1 o'clock, you click that link in your calendar or in your email and make sure you join, because you need to be in there before the students are. So again, if you told the students to be there at 1, you should probably be in there a few minutes earlier, ready to accept them, okay? And then at that point, it just functions like any other Zoom meeting. And we kind of went over that already, right? So again, just to reiterate, if you want to schedule a meeting, make sure that you click that link and enter before any students enter, because pretty soon you'll need to be admitting them. And then I'm sure at around 1 o'clock or whenever your meeting is, right here, it will start blinking and you'll start seeing students come into your waiting room waiting for you to accept them. And then you can start your meeting. Okay, guys? So that's Zoom. I'll show you one fun thing. So the payoff for watching this long video is now I'll show you how to add a weird background like this to your profile, right? So if you want to add a fun little background like I have, you can go to your Zoom startup screen, which is just what you get when you click on the Zoom app. And then up here, you'll probably see your initials. I see TC. You'll see whatever your initials are. You're going to click it, and you are going to go to Settings. And there's a lot of cool settings you can mess with here, more than I have time to discuss, frankly. But mess with them. The one that I want to discuss is Virtual Background. So you're going to click that. And notice I can click None. I can click this grass. It's acting a little weird right now because I got some shadows going on. You can click the earth, which is kind of cool. Or if you click this plus icon, you can add whatever image you want as long as you have it saved into your computer. So if you have a picture of Hawaii in the background saved into your documents, you can choose it. Anything you want, okay? My background looks a little funky because here is very bright and here is a shadow on this side. So you're going to want better lighting than I have right now if you want it to look good. But in any case, that's how you make your Zoom look cool. And on that note, I hope this helps out, guys. And other than that, have a great day. I'll see you at the next video.